Good evening. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. We're live. What's up, everybody? We got Craig in Melbourne. Excellent. Good to see you. Jersey Red, Rusty, what's going on? Ron is here. Welcome, welcome. Mick from Australia. Excellent. Steve O. NH, New Hampshire. All right, Steve, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Elias, what's up? Jody 1 and Elias, thanks for the suggestion tonight. This will be fun. Jody 1, hello, hello. Who else we got out there? Bob from Virginia, good to see you. Russ from Vegas, excellent. Igor from Mexico City, all right, all right. And we got Waniac, I love it. Jim Gregory, what's up? All right, Ron, thanks for coming back. No problem if you miss it. You know it lives online, right? Stacy, how's it going? King 50, Northern Nevada. Excellent, excellent. Naomi, Culver City. Excellent. Okay, we're going to do some finger picking stuff tonight, but we're going to start right at the beginning, okay? So this isn't going to be a terribly too difficult session tonight. We're gonna kind of just make our way through some stuff, maybe towards the end, maybe tackle a few more advanced topics, but really starting slow and starting sort of at the beginning of this for this one. All right. So hopefully you're in the right place. Zane, what's up? Thanks, Big Mike. All right. I like it. Shell, what's up? And Danny from Arkansas. Excellent. Andre from Quebec, Canada representing. I love it. John McCarthy, what's up? Well, welcome everybody. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. Teletubes Savalas, Central Texas. I love it. Teletub, maybe. I don't know what it is. Okay, so I've got the acoustic for this tonight. We're doing some finger picking, but of course these skills transfer back and forth. On the electric, of course, finger picking on the electric feels a lot different. You got the strings closer together, the frets closer together, all that kind of stuff. All right, Chris Richards from Calgary, my hometown, representing. Love it. Good to see you. Chad Miller turned 57. Happy birthday. Let's be happy tonight, all right? I'm happy you joined. Happy birthday, sir. Ron, all right. And from the Bahama, Sierra Montgomery, all right. Excellent, excellent. And from Oakland, Evan, good to see you. Excellent. Yeah, so even if you got your electric, follow along. This is all transferable stuff. There's lots of times where you do the finger picking stuff with the fingers on the electric, right? But it's mostly associated with an acoustic guitar type of skill, but not easily transferable, but transferable definitely between electric and acoustic. What's up, Peter? Good to see you, as always. All right, so if you're new to the sessions tonight, expand the description below the video and you'll find a link to a PDF document with some of the tabs that we'll be going over tonight, okay? And you can follow along and, of course, refer to this video. It lives on the channel after we've long since signed off live. So it's always here for you to revisit, check it out. And of course, you've got that PDF to refer to. Rich, what's up? Good morning. Saturday morning for those of you elsewhere in the world. I love it. Steve P sneaking in at work. I love that too. Excellent. And Kotla671. Good morning. All right. Yeah, lots of Aussies. I love it. Thanks for joining. First exercise, 1A, just getting the fingers going because it's all in the fingers, right? Girl Rao, welcome to your first streaming lesson. All right. We're glad to have you here. Guam. Okay, we're in Guam. Excellent. There we go. Australian Guam. Let's grab a D chord. Okay. And so if you're an absolute beginner, sometimes even just grabbing this shape might be a little bit difficult. But the good news is once we've got the shape, once we've got our fingers where they need to be, we're going to work on this, okay? It's all about the fingers, finger picking and plucking, okay? Girl Rao from San Francisco, excellent. And Rich in Beijing, of course, all right. So something a little bit different with the notation tonight, if you happen to grab that PDF, have a look at it, is that up on the staff beside the notes, you'll see a letter T in italics or a 1, 2, 3 numbers. Okay, and what I'm talking about are which fingers to pluck the strings with. So you got T for thumb, first finger is your index finger, second finger, your middle finger, third finger, your ring finger. And I don't think we really have anything yet with the pinky, okay? Because already this is a lot to deal with, okay? Now, I will say this off the top, okay? These are just suggested fingerings. And of course, most of this particular handout that I have for today's session, it's exercises to get this going, okay? So it leans a little bit less on a musical example, although these are very musical. They are musical examples, but they're more exercises. We're not really switching a lot of chords. It's all to put our focus on the fingers, okay? But having said that, these are just suggested fingerings, okay? There really is no right or wrong answer to come for this kind of stuff. I can give you a starting point, but just depending on musical context and your skills and how you develop, you're going to start using fingers differently on the strings, okay? Yeah, Rich, we're probably not going to get as far as Tommy Emmanuel type stuff today. But he is an absolute master. If you don't know who Tommy Emmanuel is, check him out on YouTube. It's ridiculous acoustic guitar skills. Just amazing. Yeah, let's do it. So let's get on this D chord first. And so when we've got the D chord, we've got the open D string, second fret of the G or the third string, third fret of the B string or second string, and then the second fret of the top string, okay? Classical gas, yeah, no, wow. We've got, this is just volume 1, guys. So maybe when we make it to volumes 3, 4, we'll start pulling kind of that stuff, right? We got to get some basic skills under our fingers, and really it's about these exercises to go over and over and over, nice and slow, so that you just develop the muscles to train them to be able to know what to do before we even think about getting fast. A lot of the, Tommy Emmanuel blazes, right? Classical gas, that blazing finger picking in that one, right? We got to start just simple and start slow and lots of repetition, because that's what it takes to program this stuff, right? I say it over and over again each and every week, so I'm sure you're sick of it, but it is the truth, okay? Let's talk a little bit about positioning, okay? I've got my arm resting on the body up top here, and I'm coming in at sort of an angle, right? So that my fingers are roughly in the area of the sound hole. If you're on an electric guitar, roughly you probably want to be in between, if you have 2 pickups, like kind of right in the middle between, the fretboard and the bridge kind of. And the number one thing that you need to try and focus on as you're working through this is to be as relaxed as possible. Your timing and control gets affected if you're tensing up a lot and if you're tight. It needs to be loose, needs to be relaxed. Okay, so deep breaths and just drape your hand over here, your arm over the body, and just sort of shake it a little bit and just keep it loosey-goosey, right? Also, what we want to do, a lot of times, here's the thing, there's not one right or wrong way to do this, but I'm just giving you a suggestion off the top, okay? A lot of people ask if they've got the arm flat against the body and kind of come in like this, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But, and I even do that sometimes too. It just depends on a musical context of what's happening. But I would say for the most part, this hand isn't resting on the strings. It's floating above the strings, okay? I don't know if you can see. It's not down here. It's like not anchored anywhere, okay? I don't have my pinky anchored anywhere. It's just free floating over the strings, okay? And I find that's what works best for me. And so it's a good starting point to check it out for yourself. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with kind of resting your palm on the lower strings when you're not doing it, or maybe the top of the body where the arm is flat against that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I find that I get kind of, if I'm away from the strings a little bit, I can curl my fingers in a little bit more, and I can be a little more expressive, a little more controlled, and just have this sort of relaxed here, okay? So, by the way, if we have beginners here and the D chord's a little bit tough, follow along with these exercises, but with open strings, okay? Don't even worry about the chords, all right? I'm going to be holding a D chord, but you don't necessarily have to. You can just work on the strings like this, okay? So exercise 1A, right? Thumb on the root, open D string, fourth string, right? If we number the strings, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Sixth is the lowest. Fourth is the open D string, right? Okay, so this first one's very simple. We're just getting the thumb, the first finger, the index finger, and the second finger, the middle finger involved. Nice and steady, right? These are quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Let's talk a little bit about technique, okay? So again, my hand is floating, okay? My thumb is sort of going to strike the string at the, like parallel to the string, okay? And you're going to pluck upwards with your fingers, okay? You see this motion? You're kind of going this kind of thing, okay? Nice and light at first. We don't want to be too light where it's, you need to dig in a little bit, but save the really digging in part, because what you do is you tend to sort of tense up if you're going to do like really digging in, higher dynamic kind of thing. Just somewhere in the middle where you're still staying relaxed. Okay. This is the kind of exercise that goes great with a metronome. Okay, just to be honest with your timing. But even if you're sitting on the couch and you're new to finger picking, right? This is something that you could just do. Ah, yes, the pinky on the body. Only if it feels natural. If it feels weird to you, I would say don't do it. Okay, you can sort of see my fingers just naturally sort of curl together a little bit. So that kind of thing doesn't work for me. Okay. All right, if it feels natural for you, go for it. Okay. Absolutely. I'm not saying that's a wrong thing. Okay. I'm actually probably gonna end up doing this angle for a lot of this session today. Okay, and also notice that your fingers are positioned over the strings. They're not like kind of dangling away or anything, like they're all sort of right there. You want to try and keep everything right there so that your movements aren't big. Your movements are very economical, right? And you're plucking that up and down. Great. How's it feel, everybody? All right? Too easy, too hard? We probably got a pretty good mix tonight. All right? Okay, so very simple, right? Just getting it going, trying to build in some sort of ability with this, okay? Now, exercise 1B. Do we need to think about the angle of the wrist just in line with the forearm? Generally, yes. Yeah, generally, it's all sort of connected that way, and it's all this motion, okay? Good question on the nails, Ron. I've never done the nail thing, and so I can't give a great answer on that one, whether or not it's worth it for that, whether it's helpful. I know that there's plenty of guitar players, particularly classical guitar players, that get the nails going and use that. Or I've even heard of guitar players using fake nails to do that. And so it's just a personal preference thing, and whatever you feel is natural and comfortable. I have a feeling that these acrylic nails that people use are going to sound a lot more like a pick, right? As opposed to the pad of our finger, which is going to give a little bit of a mellower, softer, almost lower end kind of sound. If you start using the nails, right, it could be a lot brighter of a sound. So again, these are musical choices, right? And some people prefer one over the other. Unfortunately, I just can't give you a personal experience with that. And even though, Rich, I've messed around with the thumb pick, again, that's a thing that I never really dug into that much. So again, that could be the thing where it's just to make that attack a little bit brighter on that thumb, right? So these are all great suggestions, great things to check out. Just experiment, right? A lot of the fun of being a guitar player is just to experiment and find what resonates with you, right? And if it's something that you want to keep going down the avenue with, then by all means, right? That's what it's all about. Nicholas, welcome from Sydney, Australia. I love it. Excellent. Thanks for being here. Let's go to exercise 1B. By the way, if you just joined us, expand the description below the video. There's a link to a PDF with tabs so you can follow along with tonight's lesson. We're on exercise 1B. Going to continue with the open D, okay? And this time we're using the second finger and the third finger. So now we're getting that ring finger involved. And I think immediately what you're going to notice, it's basically the same exercise, but we're going fourth string and then second string and first string. And we've assigned these fingers to those upper strings, right? Second finger to the second string, third finger to the first string, right? Exactly the same approach here, right? Like I'm floating my hand over here, just trying to keep it nice and relaxed, my whole arm, right? And just doing some medium plucking with those upper fingers and the thumb, okay? Now, there's a couple of things you can do immediately to start messing around with these exercises, okay? One of the things is to alternate between the two of them, right? So play a bar of one and then the next bar, switch it up to the different fingers. So, right? Okay, you can hear me speeding up a little bit because I can feel like, you know, I can get a little bit faster with it, but I encourage you all to do that as well. But as soon as you find the spot where you lose it, as soon as you find that spot where it falls off, where you stumble on it a little bit, that's the sign that's telling you slow it down. Go back down to where you can do that over and over and keep it in time and nice and smooth. That's going to be the most effective way to burn this into your muscles, right? Douglas, all right, welcome. Rest the hand thumb joint gently on the guitar unless doing a sweeping finger style. Elbow is the guide. Works for me. Great tip. Thank you. That's a good one for sure. The hand thumb joint right there, right? Okay. So you see that. I like to bring it out a little bit and come in like that, but other people like to anchor it. Okay. So it's about experimentation, finding what works for you. Jazz House used to use finger picks, but ended up with just fingers. There you go. I like that. Yeah, there's even finger picks. It's pretty crazy to put on a set of finger picks. So there you go. Excellent. Okay, so now we get to exercise 1C where we're going to combine all this, okay? And go up and down with each finger. So thumb, first, second, third, second, first, thumb. Now we're getting all the fingers involved into one exercise. Brad, yeah, yes, about the pinky, and a lot of people do this, and we already talked about it a little bit. Yes, absolutely. If it feels natural to you to anchor with the pinky, go for it. It's not anything that I like to use. I like to kind of float over top. But if you need an anchor to just like kind of steady it and it feels natural to you, go for it. Okay? Absolutely. Now, while you're doing these exercises, another thing I want to mention is that experiment with the dynamics. Okay? Once you sort of get the ability to go through this a little bit, try going really soft and see how it changes. Right? Dig in. James, what's up? Good to see you. And see how loud you can get it without really tensing up. We still want to stay as relaxed as we can. You see, sometimes, particularly, I notice now that when I'm going to dig in a little bit, I tend to like want to anchor there on the body. Right? So all of these little tweaks that you're experimenting with, they give you different sounds, right? And it's just about knowing what kind of different sounds you can get out of this and applying it to sort of whatever kind of music you want to make, right? Like, you know, some finger pickers are super aggressive and really dig in and get going on it, and others are just nice and relaxed and lower dynamic kind of sound, okay? There is no wrong answer. It's all valid, right? All right, James. 8 years, everybody. Okay, so let's head to exercise 2. Basic pattern. We're continuing on. We're going to move chords now. Okay, so like what I was saying, you can do open strings. But now what we're doing is we're moving down to the 5th string. Okay, so this is now a chord, the open C chord, where the root is on the 5th string. Okay, and what I've done is I've taken that last exercise with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers and applied them to the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. So now you're sort of separating the thumb from the fingers a little bit because we've got a string in between that we're not striking. So this is essential practice just for dexterity of the fingers, right? Because in the real world, we're going to be moving from that D chord to a C chord and then to a G chord, which is coming up. And we're using all different strings, right? So for the roots is what I mean. At least in this instance, okay? So there again is your basic pattern for a C chord. Nice and relaxed. Good. Now what you can do, because the thing is with the C chord, you've got 5 strings that make the chord. And our picking pattern only hits 4 of those strings. So you can change it to hit different strings. So now I can, instead of doing the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st string with these fingers, I'm going to move them down a string set to hit the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. I'm hitting the same chord, just different strings. And you get the different sound, right? Because you're playing the lower notes in the chord. And most importantly, it feels a lot different than what you're used to, because now you're picking inside of that top string a little bit. Okay? So you're in a different location. Remember, if you're new to this, it's much better to go nice and slow with it than to try and do it faster and, you know, kind of have to keep restarting and kind of missing things, right? What we want to burn into the muscles and the fingers is the correct, you know, executing what we're trying to do correctly, so that's what gets programmed in, not all the stuff of like kind of flubbing stuff, right? So see, there's very little movement of the arm and the hand. That's a good one too, Brad. Absolutely. I'll talk about that in a little bit, because as I've developed my own finger picking sort of style, I tend to use that thumb a lot more. I don't just use it on one string. I move it up and down the strings a lot and make it part of the pattern. We're going to get to that a little bit later, okay? It just feels natural for me to do that. Okay, C chord. So we've looked at a D chord, we've looked at a C chord. Now let's look at the G chord. So I'm actually grabbing the G chord with the D note in it, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, okay? And just showing you that once again, thumb, low string, and in this particular example, 1st, 2nd, 3rd fingers on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. Now again, we can do, you can move that up and down string set. So I can do the top 3 strings. And then that feels a little bit weird because you got the thumb and then you got 2 strings you're not using before you pick it up with the index finger, right? So that's an adjustment. And then I can do this string set now, the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, the ones that we started with. And also not tabbed, but I'll add the 2nd fret of the A string, and you can do those ones as well. So maybe, as I always say, take these exercises and, try to make all sorts of different alternate versions of these exercises. So maybe what you might want to do is incorporate it into one big exercise where you start with the low strings, then on the next thumb stroke, move up a string set with the fingers, and then again to the top, and bring it back down, then down low. And just cycle through those string sets as you do it, okay? There you go. Yes, absolutely. The low 3 strings equals the thumb. So there we go. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that. Shell, we've been following along while with the Hubs drives us home from shopping. Going to take care of the kids now. All right, Shell, have a great night. Thank you. Exercise 3A. So let's up it a little bit to the next logical sort of thing to work on, which is incorporating 2 strings at the same time. We're plucking 2 strings at the same time. So for example, in E minor, which if I just pluck these strings, these are automatically an E minor without having to fret anything, okay? So I'm going to get the low thumb, low string, index on the G string 3rd string, and then a combination of the 2nd and 3rd fingers on the top 2 strings, and then back down, plucking on the 3rd string, and do that. So let's see what we can do with that. So now we're building in sort of a double pluck. We've got 2 strings at the same time, and this opens up a lot of flexibility now in what we can do. Okay, so it's just getting used to that. Now, if you're a little bit nervous about hitting the wrong strings, right? Like I always recommend, even though the picking pattern is all open strings, if you go ahead and fret the 2nd fret of the A and D string to make a full E minor chord, if you make a mistake, like for example, I come down and I hit the 4th string instead of the 3rd string, no one's really going to notice because you've still hit a note that's in the chord, so it still sounds good, right? Instead of if you didn't have any fingers on it, then it might jump out a little bit, right? Like that versus okay. So always a good idea, even when you look at a tab, this is a little tip for tabs, okay? Figure out what chord is being fretted, even if it's just a lot of open strings in whatever the riff is or whatever it is, because if you could hold the chord and have those open strings, then if you kind of mess up, you still got an insurance policy. It's going to sound okay, right? Ron, what does the word double stop mean? It's just simply 2 notes at the same time. That's all that means. They call that a double stop, okay? So in this case, it's the top 2 strings plucked at the same time. That's your double stop, basically, okay? So it's just a guitar-centric term for that. All right, so let's add a chord. We're going to switch the location of the strum with the little flies in here. Location of the root is now on the 5th string, right? So I've got to move my thumb. Brad, this is a great question. Watch your right hand fingers while practicing or not? I say yes, absolutely. Watch them because that'll give you an advantage to make sure that your dexterity is correct and you're hitting the right strings. The idea is that once you burn in with enough repetition, you start to don't have to look anymore. And that's where we want to get down the road. But for right now, if it's any technique that's new to you, where you have to pick specific strings, pluck specific strings like finger picking, right? At first, we have to monitor what's going on down here to make sure we're doing it correctly. So it's absolutely okay. It's encouraged. Absolutely watch your fingers until you get the point, to the point of being able to not look and still be doing it correctly. Okay? Yes, have a strap for your acoustic, but it's you can't see as well. Absolutely. It's a totally different thing standing up and playing with a strap, right? We got to get the techniques down first, and then we can experiment with, strapping up and seeing how to adjust everything. What is a claw hammer? That is a great question, Rich. I'm sorry, I do not know the answer. Maybe somebody knows the answer on here tonight. I've heard the term thrown around, but I'm not exactly sure exactly what it is. So I apologize for that. Excellent, Erica. Great. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Okay, so we're on that C chord once again. Okay, thumb's hitting the 5th string, and then 1st string plucking the 3rd. And at the same time, we've got the 1st fret of the B string and the high string there. Okay, again, these are just simple exercises, right? Burning in a little bit of ability here so that we can take this to whatever we want to apply to it, right? Okay, great. All right. Finger picked pattern with double stop G chord. Didn't seem like I moved that one. So we're still the C chord, but I think I mistakenly said that's a G chord, but it's a C chord. But what we're doing is just moving that string set down. So now I've got the thumb here, and now I'm plucking 4th string and then 2nd and 3rd string together. So I'm just applying the fingers again to a different string set. Now let's apply it to the G chord. And once again, just like those previous examples, right? We can move them to different string sets, right? Especially for G. Yeah, it still works for G, exactly, right? We've got more strings that we can pluck, so you've got kind of your choice to what kind of sound you're going for, right? All right, Douglas, the claw banjo style that stays fixed to pluck the same strings in the same hand shape. It's this kind of thing, right? Yeah, I really don't know anything about the ins and outs of playing a banjo. It's a totally different beast, right? So it might be something like this. Maybe an instructional YouTube video probably is in order after mine. For the claw hammer, I apologize. I like the name, the claw hammer. All right, everybody hanging in. How we doing? Exercise 4. Now we've got a different pattern that we're going to practice. Okay, so instead of just, so far we've just been going up and down, right? Some off-color comments. Does it work on F, E minor, and C minor? Absolutely. You can apply. I guess I haven't mentioned this yet. We're sticking to sort of simple chords, right? But you can apply, it's a picking pattern for the strings. So for example, if I move to an F chord, okay? Right? You've got the same, I've got the thumb on the root, okay? And then you've got the same plucked string set. And in fact, for the F chord, you can move the root to the, you can kind of just start it on the D string, the 4th string. Okay, same thing with an E chord, right? E major, and C minor. Okay. the pattern stays the same, right? And the only choice really, or the only things to think about is where is the root? That's where your thumb needs to go. And then what string sets of the chord do I want to play with that pattern, right? That's all we got to do. So alternate pattern, exercise 4. So I'm going to go back to the open D chord, and now we're going to kind of mix up the pattern of plucking a little bit. So it starts off. Okay, so now we're kind of mixing it up, right? We're going first, second, first, third, second, right? First, second. Okay, so just an alternate pattern to kind of take you to the next level of things, okay? And of course, let's move it to a C chord in exercise 4B, okay? Right? And now that we have a C chord, right, we're not utilizing all the strings of the C chord, so I can adjust the picking pattern to move it down a string set, right, and do the same picking pattern, but this time D, G, and B strings, right? So that's your alternate right there. Like variation, I guess. Variation of the same exercise. Okay. So I encourage you, yes, work on these exercises, but also experiment. Try to turn them into 5 different exercises, okay? Now notice we haven't really worked on the pinky at all, and what I've noticed is that the pinky is sort of the weaker, it's the weakest link. So it's it's a noble effort to get it involved and to try to do it. I know in classical guitar they try and get the pinky involved a lot, but I find that I just don't really use the pinky in finger picking, and that's probably bad on me. But I can pretty much do everything that I need to do with these 3 fingers and the thumb kind of moving up and down, like just like what I think Rich was saying, right? With just moving up and down those root notes and having these 3 fingers, okay? But you certainly, if you wanted to, just make up an exercise with a C chord or a G chord or whatever and get all the fingers in, if you wanted to. I'm not sure there's much value in that. But anytime you can get the pinky involved and trying to strengthen it is a good thing. I just don't really, truthfully for me, I just don't use it in this kind of thing. All right? Cool. Right, Erica, there you go. I think just, popular sort of good, it might be a different story with classical guitar, but again, I'm not classically trained, so wrong guy to ask as far as that goes. Exercise 5. Kind of borrowed this out of one of my chord arpeggiation workshops. Got it, Brad. Good tip. I like the backup, everybody. Erica and Brad got my back. I borrowed this out of a chord arpeggiation workshop that we did a while ago, just to show you that we've got this sort of really common strumming pattern that goes. Okay, and that particular rhythm is super useful and it's used in tons of songs, right? So we can take that same rhythm and apply it to a chord with finger picking. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate on this C chord. Okay, so you see now that some of the notes are being held longer than others. We're not just hitting, sort of the quarter notes now all the time, right? So now we're letting things ring out a little bit. Adds a little more texture. Okay. So another great thing to work on is just, keeping your timing nice and smooth while you're letting some of these notes ring out as quarters. Some of these notes are eighth notes. Wow. right? And then for the next bar, I just threw in a move to the F chord. And notice that the upper fingers are on the same string set, right? All you've done is move the chord and move your thumb to the root of that F chord on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. And back. Okay? Good? All right, so we're just inching our way, you know, like just kind of adding a little bit of extra each time we kind of get through these exercises. Another double stop pattern to think about that I use all the time. Okay, I see it used all the time in music, and we'll expand upon this, but we're introducing this for the first time is, for example, I'm grabbing an A minor chord, okay? And what I'll do is I'll hit a note in the chord as well as the root with the thumb at the same time. Okay, so this is another sort of double stop idea. And in this particular example, I'm grabbing it with the 3rd finger. Back to doing quarter notes, right? But, or, I mean 8th notes, but steady. And so this is a really common thing to use the thumb and also hit an upper note at the same time, okay? So just aim to pluck sort of with the thumb and the finger sort of at the same volume so that they're both equal, kind of coming out together. And then in the exercise, I moved it to an E minor. So all that changes there as far as the plucks are the thumb going from the 5th string down to the low string. Brad, his experience is the pinky is trouble. Don't use a pick. Anchor, yes. Pink, no. Pick, no. Nice and slow. Go as slow as you have to go. Great, great, great. Okay, so yet another example. That is super common. I tend to use that kind of finger picking approach a lot. Darn flies. Okay. Exercise 7, alternating bass. So here we go. We're going to start moving that thumb. Okay, that was the idea of using the thumb on multiple strings now. Okay, so in this example, we're doing some root 5 motion, alternating bass, basically. So it's very simple. I see what I've done. So here's the first example where I've reserved the A string 5th string and the D string 4th string for the thumb. And then I'm using the 1st and 2nd finger on the G and B. And this is what I tend to do. This is sort of the default mode for me. And it was also brought up. Rich brought it up. A few others brought it up. Using that thumb kind of on the lower strings and keeping 1, 2, and 3 on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st string. Okay. And this works great. Okay. So what you'll see is that you've got your thumb and then index with a string in between, but then you're alternating when it comes back down to the thumb, you're moving up a string to grab, in this case, the E note of the A minor chord, which is the 5th. So it goes root, 5th, root, 5th, like that. Okay, in this first example, I'm going up to the D string. Got it? Now in exercise B, what I'm doing is that instead of going to the E note second fret of the D string, I'm just going to grab the low E string. Right? All right, so we haven't had to do any finger movement on the left hand yet, or whatever side your fretting hand is, until this one. Let's go to a C chord, okay? So now look at what I'm doing here. Now, there's two ways to think about this, right? Like you can move that finger down, which is common. So I'm using my ring finger as the root of the C chord, and then I'm just simply going to go off it and move down a string set to the G note to get the fifth, okay? The other thing you could do is the C chord's built for, you can actually do the, okay? You can actually do the pinky and the ring finger there and not have to move anything, so. What I like about getting this motion down is that if you start to get more and more complicated finger picking stuff where you're incorporating melodies, which is sort of the Travis picking, Tommy Emmanuel kind of thing, you've got that pinky to be able to do it, even though you're still alternating the bass down here, right? If you were to just hold that chord, you can't really do any adding some melodies to it, right? So, right? We want to have that flexibility down the road. So get used to moving that root. Brad, I like that. That's cool. Yeah, the 1-5-1-3, right? So, for example, what Brad's talking about in his comment there is the root third motion. Well, your third of the chord is the E note, right? So you could go. So now you're moving that thumb A string, D string, A string, G string, okay? And it just adds another layer of complexity and texture onto it. So great call, Brad. I like that. Sorry. Messed up. All right. Good stuff. Rusty, what's up? No problem, man. No problem. I'm glad you made it. Douglas, to keep time and get a little percussive. Let's see. Oh, just mentioning great finger picking episode on every other sequence of picking. You could wrap the side of your thumb on the wood above the sound hole. Absolutely. Right? A little more of an advanced thing, but of course, that's great. Keeps time, gets a little percussive, works great on 4/4 and 6/8, just fun and different. Absolutely. 1000%. I love it. Okay. That's cool. That kind of thing. I'm probably not very good at it. Douglas, you're probably great at it. So I like that. Really cool. Okay. So that's exercise 7C, where we're alternating that bass note and even adding in a little extra there at Brad's suggestion, the third of the chord, that kind of thing. All right. Exercise 8. So getting into, this is sort of my only song example for this session. But I thought it was pretty cool to kind of throw it in here. So we'll dive in a sec here. Elias, been trying to incorporate finger picking to every practice with finger strumming combos in case I ever find myself with a guitar, but no pick. That's a great strategy. Absolutely 100%. Even just, it's getting some sort of ability to be able to strum without a pick, using the side of your fingers, the nails for a little bit of trebly sound, right? Just kind of getting used to that a little bit, and makes it a lot easier to transition between strums and Fingerpicking. Douglas, 70 years old, songwriter. You know, right on, Douglas. Keep on trucking, man. That's awesome. I love it. All right, so exercise 8A. We're going to come up and grab 10th fret of the A string, 12th fret of the B string. And this is a little bit of a tricky one. So again, I'm using the thumb and then the first and second finger and plucking both the thumb and the B string, which is going to be the the second finger, the middle finger. And that first pluck is a quarter note. And then we're going to go into eighth notes. Like that. So what's challenging about this is that the order of the strings is kind of a little bit different. We're hitting the thumb and the middle finger on the fifth and second string, letting it ring out, and then it's first, second, back to the thumb, and then second, first. So you're kind of going in reverse. Get it wrong there. There we go. I can't do it fast. I need lots of repetition on that, right? So that's plucked out of the Beatles' Blackbird, right? So to extend it even further, I'm just giving you a little teaser of sort of what's in that song. Obviously, that whole song is a great finger-picking workout. But check out the shape of this movement right here in 8B. Okay. So you're adding, you're starting on the G with the open B string, and the thumb and middle finger are plucking together, and then you come in with the index finger on that G string. Then we're going to move the thumb onto the A string. Okay, that's right. But that climb up is really common in a lot of fingerpick songs. Okay, and you can add that in all sorts of shapes and stuff like that. It starts to sound really pretty. Okay, does that make sense? So it's a little bit tricky. That sort of the Blackbird pattern is. When I think about it, it really messes me up when I'm thinking about playing it, and so that's crazy. But there you go. Okay, I just got to burn that one in, right? But okay. Thanks, Douglas. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that. Cool. So I got one more example here, exercise 9, and of course, jumping a little bit to the next level here with some Travis picking. We're going to keep it super simple with the Travis picking. Okay, just 2 examples. I know I've kind of covered this before in rhythm styles, but of course it's never been more applicable than it is when we're talking about finger picking, right? So grab a C chord, and again we're using the thumb and the middle finger on the A string and the B string. And then I've got that thumb moving. Okay, so it's the thumb on the D string and then the first finger on the open G string. And then I'm going to have to go down with the thumb back to the root, 3rd fret of the A string, right? So, and then going back up to the B string and again with the thumb on the D string. So you see your thumb is doing this. Okay, and that's that root third motion in this case, right? Now, this is going to feel really weird at first if you haven't tried this before. So you got to go super slow and just look at it. The first one is a quarter note, but then it's eighth notes after that. Okay? Does the finger picking add more harmony? It's your finger picking, in the examples that I used in this session, Igor, you're picking the same notes that are in the chord. So just by playing the chord, that adds it adds harmony. But, what really, I guess, if you strum a chord, you're getting the harmonized sound as well as the finger picking. It's just the finger picking is sort of, arpeggiating it. It's breaking it up a little bit, but it doesn't really add more harmony is not the right word. It's not really the word I would use I think what you're getting at is maybe just adds a texture, right? Right? Adds like more of a texture to it than just a strum, right? Great. Yeah, Brad's on it. It's a total go-to. I actually use this 90% of the time, right? Once you kind of get used to this style. And this is, check out Dust in the Wind, Just Breathe by Pearl Jam, using this approach, right? And they're all on Guitar Tricks, right? So check them out if you got your membership. You can double stop the strings with fingers can't easily strum alone. Absolutely. You can do that too. Any suggestions? Jazz House could never get it up to speed. It's all about the fingers hit a wall. I get how frustrating that is, but it's really all about the repetition. Just try to relax as much as you can. I would spend, instead of worrying about the chord changes, right? I would just stay on one chord and work on this sort of pattern and make that a focus over and over and over until you can get the pattern faster. Okay. I wouldn't worry about any of the chord changes. Just focus on the fingers, the plucking fingers. Okay. Go slow, lots of repetition. That's what's going to do it. Okay. And when it gets too frustrating, get away from it for a while, work on some other stuff, come back to it in a week, couple weeks, start fresh with it again. But that's how you get through, that's how you get through it, is just by keep at it slowly and make sure you're doing it correctly, but slow. Okay. And then, just keep trying to push that tempo ceiling further and further up. Okay. Never work beyond where you can do it comfortably, right? You always got to be working where you can do it, and just repetition, repetition, repetition. And that's what's going to push the tempo ceiling. Okay. Keep at it. All right. Try not to get frustrated. I know that that's unavoidable sometimes. Get away from it. Come back to it later. Yeah. Elias kicking. Yeah. It kicks butt. It takes a little while. Okay. I like that, Chad. In front of the TV, repetition, mindless repetition, right? Still does some good. So there you go. What model Martin this is, I would be happy to share that. I don't know exactly. It's some sort of MV something. All I know is that it was sort of a Guitar Center exclusive type of guitar just for Guitar Center. So it's relatively, for Martin, relatively inexpensive. It wasn't super inexpensive, but relatively inexpensive. But the day that I got this, I tried everything they had, and I loved this one. So it came home, and I've been loving it ever since. Erica, I've been working on Diamonds and Rust for a year. Happy to report it sounds pretty decent. Awesome. Awesome. Great work. That is excellent. Yes, Brad, that's it. Daily practice routine and just getting commando and grinding it out. There's no silver bullet with this stuff, unfortunately. You got to just try to be consistent with every day, attacking it, going slow, repetition all the time. All right. Miller time. Right on, Chris. Excellent. Back to the reps. All right, Jazz House. Hopefully that helped. Duke 49, thanks. All right. A DM. I don't think it's a DM. It's like an XV something or other. It's in there. I can't read it right now. They never put the model on the guitar headstock. And I should I know we're out of time. I was just going to mention, this Travis pattern. I added in the root motion, root 5 motion into that in the last exercise. So you can go. Okay. So that's where it sounds really cool, is to be able to just move that root 5th motion on that. Okay. Everybody get to it. I hope this was informative. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was inspiring. Thank you, everybody. We had a great turnout tonight. I super appreciate all of you. Thanks so much. And have a great weekend. Have a great next week. We'll be back with a guitar workout this time next week. All right. Back on the electric, but of course, bring your acoustic too. Everything is applicable, right? Thanks again, Ron, Mick, Zane, Erica. Thanks so much. And shout out to Elias for the inspiration to do this session. He requested it last week, and I thought, you know what? It's time. We need to do it. So it was great. Right on, Jim Gregory, Damien, John, Brad, Douglas. Thanks so much for all your tips and suggestions. Douglas, appreciate it. Brad as well. Good night, everybody. All right.